Good morning. I'm Dr. Velasquez, the health officer for Spokane County. Thank you for joining us today. And today, to my right, I have the Aging and Long-Term Care of Eastern Washington Fall Prevention Educator, Philip Heelan. Thank you for coming, Phil. I appreciate you being here. And when I say fall, I'm not talking about the season. We're actually talking about a very important topic, which is when we fall, because it is Falls Prevention Week. So thank you very much for joining us. And I think when we say falls, people go like, well, so what's the big deal? People fall all the time. So tell us a bit, why is it that this is a healthcare and a public health issue?
Well, it certainly is, and thank you for having me. But fall prevention is something that, I had parents that had fallen and knew other people had fallen. I've been in this position for 3 years, a long history in Spokane with other things, but never knew how common falls were. And the more you are in this position, the more you learn that 1 in 5 people, older adults, fall, and 1 in 5 is a serious injury. And when you just look at, like, for example, the fire department last year, their number 1 call is to respond to people that have fallen. Either they fell and just couldn't get up, needed assistance getting up, or they had to be treated for an injury or transported to the hospital. And last year, between the city of Spokane Valley and Spokane City, the fire department went on over 10,000 calls.
Wow.
Because people had fallen.
So that's a big number, 10,000 calls. If you think about it, it's only 500,000 plus in the county.
Right.
So that's a lot of people. So you mentioned a little bit people that tend to be a little bit older. So who's at risk? Who's at most risk for falls?
So really the risk is people that develop that fear of falling. Maybe they've experienced a fall. Being inactive is a risk. There's lots of risk factors. The most important thing is that fear of falling. And people in their minds, they think when they have that fear of falling, in their minds they think they want to play it safe. And they decide they're going to stay home, not take the risk of going out. But when they stay home and they're inactive, their muscles and bones and flexibility become more restrictive. And also there's a lot of loneliness and depression and anxiety and worry and stress. And all of those things actually contribute to falls. So what they think they're doing as a favor for themselves is actually counterproductive. Whereas by staying active, continuing to do the things that you like to do, the things that make you happy, by continuing that, exercise is a big part of it, just movement, whether it's walking, even cleaning the house or working in the yard. But staying active is the thing that really can overcome that and help prevent falls.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people think if I'm really, 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 really careful, I'm not going to fall again. But that does, decrease your muscle tone, bone density can be impacted. So it's like with everything else, just be mindful, be careful, in moderation. Any other advice you have for people in general that may be concerned about a fall just because they know someone, or they're getting to a certain age, or they have seen someone fall? If you have any other suggestions for them to reduce that dread.
Yeah, certainly there's several things you can do.
Sure.
The first thing is find a good balance and exercise program.
Okay.
I'll tell you about our class. It's called A Matter of Balance in a minute. But talk to your healthcare provider. The first question they ask when you go to the doctor anymore is, have you fallen recently? So talk to your healthcare provider. Review your medications with your healthcare provider. Get hearing and vision checkups on a regular basis. Those can actually lead to falls, poor hearing and poor vision. Keep your home safe. A lot of homes have a lot of hazards that we do a home safety checklist and find out that there's a lot of things that could cause a fall. And then talk to your friends and family about it. Now, too many times when they say talk to your doctor, they think that well, if I tell my doctor I've fallen, or if I'm telling my kids I've fallen, they're going to take away my independence.
Right.
And it's actually just the opposite. It's important to talk to your doctor because, they may come up with a realization that, well, if we start tracking when you've fallen, just an example might be, well, it always seems to be right after you take your medications.
Right.
and that could cause some dizziness and weakness and tiredness that could lead to a fall. So if you look at that pattern, you realize that, well, now after I take my medications, I have to allow 30-45 minutes just to sit there before I get up and start moving again. Same thing with asking your kids for help. This is a big one.
Okay.
So many people think that by asking for help, they are going to lose their independence because everybody's going to think they can't do things themselves. An example might be changing a light bulb.
Mhm.
You know, if you're going to risk getting up on the step ladder and maybe you're not so steady or safe, but you know, it's a 2-minute thing that you can get up on the ladder, change the light bulb, and get back down safely. That's a good thing, but it just takes one time to fall that could drastically change your life. In fact, you know, most of the time maybe they'd be okay. It's different for everybody. Everybody has to figure out for themselves what they can do and can't do. But how easy is it to ask your neighbor or your family or a friend just to change that light bulb for you? And they're usually always happy to help. But we tend to come up with all the excuses like, well, they're too busy, I don't want to bother them,
Right.
this is dumb, I can change it myself. But the reality is, by asking for help, you're not taking that risk of a fall that could lead to an injury or even worse.
Wonderful. So you mentioned sometimes being mindful of what's around in your house. What are examples of things that you need to be careful with as you fall-proof your house?
Yeah, well, you know, clutter on the stairs, clutter in the hallways, poor lighting. You know, if you have to get up at night and you can't see where you're going. Older adults, when we talk about older adults, grandkids and toys, pets, you know, the carpet or throw rugs or cords or all of those things. There's so many. There's a pretty extensive checklist that we go through, but there are uneven surfaces, loose stairs, all kinds of things.
So go through your house and go like accident waiting to happen, accident waiting to happen,
Absolutely.
accident waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
That's what I tell myself when I'm going to do something, or like, I need to be mindful of the ladder or the step stool or whatever. I just have to make sure it's safe and well balanced. Otherwise, an accident
Sure.
waiting to happen.
Sure,
So,
sure. And it's never like you wake up one day and all of a sudden you can't do something.
Right.
It's more of a progressive thing. But as it becomes more of a risk factor for you, you have to think, well, if I am going to change that light bulb, I'm still okay doing it, but I want to make sure someone's here holding
Someone
the
is here,
step stool.
right. One, or get a better step stool.
Sure. one
Step
with a
stools,
handle.
some of those can be
Right.
kind of flimsy. You mentioned something, matter of balance. Can you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit more about that and how has that been applied and who can do that? And
Yeah. The class that we provide at Aging and Long-Term Care is called A Matter of Balance.
Okay.
This, in fact, is Fall Prevention Week, Fall Prevention Awareness Week. But the class we do, it's an evidence-based class that was developed at Boston University, and it's run all over the country, I think in all but 3 states. When I first started this position 3 years ago, I thought it's going to be a 2-hour conversation like this with people to tell them what to do, not to do, canes, walkers, all of those things to talk about. But I found out the class is actually 8 sessions, and each session is 2 hours.
wow.
And I thought, wow, what are you going to talk about? But the more I got into it and got trained, the more I found out that these classes go so fast. They're free classes. If someone falls and has an injury where they need to go to the hospital, the average cost is $30,000 or more by the time you look at an ambulance and hospital and medications and physical therapy and rehab and all of those things. So anything that we can do to prevent falls is important. A Matter of Balance, you hear a lot about a lot of fall prevention classes, and they're usually always exercise programs,
Right.
which are excellent, and we want people to do those. But our class is different in that we really discuss in depth the fear of falling. We call it cognitive restructuring. How do you rechange your thinking about, you know, falls and what you can do or can't do? It's really encouraging people to be active, continuing to do the things that they like to do, but realizing that they have to do things differently. A little example might be if someone likes to go fishing. We had someone in our class yesterday, and she doesn't get around very well, but she still takes her transportation all the way out to West Medical Lake and fishes, and this week she caught one that was about that big, she said. But that's what she loves to do, and that's what keeps people happy and healthy. But she can't just drive herself there
Right.
anymore. And having a friend with her is important, all of those things. But we talk about every topic that you can imagine, from dehydration to medications to stairs, wall bars, hazards in the home. We also have some light, moderate movements that we do that are specifically designed to help with balance, stability, flexibility, and endurance, which we have a video called Exercise It's Never Too Late. Even if you've never exercised your whole life, it's not too late to start. It still builds muscle and bone density and all those things. So a couple short videos, a lot of group discussion, a lot of problem solving. And then one session, in our 7th session, we have a medical healthcare professional come in, and they'll actually demonstrate how to get down on the ground safely and then how to get back up. And along with, and keeping in mind hip replacements and sore
Right.
knees and shoulders and all of those things. So
That is great. So what can the average member of the community do? What can we do to make sure our community is safe for all, and we can prevent falls?
yeah, one is understand it. So again, looking at hazards in anybody's home or business, you know, around Spokane, there's a lot of, especially on the sidewalks and things, can be a little bit dangerous. But one is just be aware. There's a big difference between a fear and an awareness. Not be in a hurry. Many falls happen when people are in a hurry. A lot of falls happen when people get in and out of bed. So learning just how to stretch, how to get the blood flowing, especially if you've been laying there for a while. Our class is a free class. We do them at the libraries, churches, senior centers, retirement homes, work with the fire department. So there's a lot of resources out there. So I would look at the resources. A Matter of Balance is a great class. Our group sizes are about 8 to 12 participants in each class.
And how can someone participate in a Matter of Balance class or classes?
Yeah, if they just go to our website, altcew.com, and then go to our fall prevention page, and then there's a place that has some information, and you can sign up for a class online.
Okay, so we should send people over to the ALTCEW website to make sure they can
Yes.
get that information.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's other information there about some of the topics we discussed today,
Yeah.
about prevention and awareness. You mentioned medication, and I think that's very important. Depending on what medication you're on, and I've seen actually some patients like with chemotherapy
Mm-hmm.
who their balance is totally
Sure.
off. And actually, I happen to have a friend that's going through chemotherapy, and he told me last week one of the biggest issues he has is just he's fallen
Sure,
a couple
sure.
of times. So now he's very mindful of that. So we have to be aware, because as you pointed out, it's not dramatic. Like I woke up today and I can't climb the ladder anymore.
Right.
Things do happen over a period of time. That is true of injury, that is true of medication, that's true of age. And be mindful of things in your home that are a accident waiting to happen.
Right.
Because I think that's one of the most common issues that we see, people just trip and fall.
Yeah. Yeah, the other, we do have another program called Falls Talk.
Falls Talk, okay.
And it's more of a one-on-one, a weekly phone call with people, because not everybody can get out to a class. So people that are maybe a little more homebound or don't have as many resources, but such a great program. They're actually at the higher risk. So this is a
Right.
one-on-one conversation that we have with them, helping them to realize the changes they need to make in their life and what they can do, you know, to make it more positive. Realizing that they're looking at their own situation, because everybody's different.
Right.
You know, you can't just base it on an age, but everybody has different abilities and weaknesses and all those types of things. But both of these programs are really about what can I do, not what can't I do.
And I think a word of caution, even if you're in perfect physical condition for your age, you can still trip and fall. And unfortunately, I think we all know someone that has happened. So don't be overconfident. Always be mindful of your surroundings. You mentioned about $30,000, the cost of average fall. So I'm going to give you guys another, the three threes. Over 30,000 people in the U.S. die because of a fall, typically older people. About 300,000 patients end up in the hospital because of hip fractures that require surgery and replacement. And unfortunately, about 3 million older adults in the U.S. end up in the emergency room because of a fall, even if they're not admitted. So those are big numbers. Right. And the numbers you mentioned for our region are pretty high for a population that is not that big. But I do know that Spokane is a wonderful place to retire. I think Spokane is a wonderful place to live once you're over a certain age. So obviously we're going to have, which is great, we're going to have lots of people in those age groups, and we need to be mindful. So I'm going to send them to your website, and make sure you check all of that out. Any last words of wisdom before we go?
Just do some research, realizing that you don't want to wait until you've experienced several falls or a fall and had an injury. There's so many things, like you said, that you can learn beforehand, even before we get to that point where maybe we're not afraid of falling. But when you know what lies ahead, you know you can take steps and start now exercising. Again, that's one of the most important things, is to stay active. And exercising, again, can be working in the yard or doing housework, going for a walk, so many different things. But stay active. If you have that fear of falling, certainly give us a call, sign up for a class, and realize that communication with your doctor and your friends and your family is so important too. And getting them to realize that, for example, so many people want to be at home.
Right.
And we need to figure out how can we help them stay at home and provide the resources and help they need, because that's when they're so much more happier and healthier.
Wonderful. Home is a good place to be. So now that it's fall, we all can get a lot of exercise raking leaves. They're starting to come down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We don't call it fall, we call it autumn now.
Autumn, oh yeah. Okay. So with the autumn message, I'm going to say thank you to Phil, and folks, go and check out the website. And thank you for joining us today. And education, knowledge, awareness is key. So let's make sure that if this information is helpful for someone that you know or someone in your family, please share. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Thank you very much, and have a safe autumn day. Thank you for joining us.